Today, we're unpacking one of the most extraordinary, volatile, and frankly jaw-dropping political thrillers in modern Indian history. We are looking at the wild story of Madhu Koda. Seriously, it's a masterclass in political leverage, coalition mechanics, and the sheer, chaotic unpredictability of a democracy. We're going to map out exactly how a single, solo individual, with zero major party machinery backing him up, managed to seize the absolute highest seat of power in his state. And as you'll see, how that led to a catastrophic and highly publicized downfall.
Okay, let's dive right into the big question. How does the absolute smallest piece on the political chessboard somehow manage to capture the king? I mean, in almost any democratic system, becoming the head of a state requires vast resources, massive voter bases, and the deep structural support of a major political party, right? Doing it entirely on your own as an independent candidate seems, well, mathematically impossible. But through the hyper-specific, chaotic conditions of Jharkhand politics, it actually happened.
Section 1. The Independent Rebel. Let's see where this all started.
Our story doesn't actually kick off with some lone wolf mastermind. Instead, we start with an ordinary party loyalist who got totally spurned by the establishment. You see, Madhu Koda actually began his mainstream political career playing by the rules. He made his mark joining the Bharatiya Janata Party, the BJP. Back in the year 2000, just as the state of Jharkhand was carved out of Bihar, he won his first legislative assembly election on a BJP ticket. He was even made a minister in the state government. But then, the 2005 elections rolled around, and the BJP leadership made a fateful choice. They flat-out denied Koda a ticket to contest. Enraged by this rejection from his own party, he went rogue. He decided to strike out entirely on his own, running as a solo independent candidate right from his stronghold of Jagannathpur.
And get this, he didn't just barely scrape by. He completely crushed his closest rival from the massive Congress party by a comfortable margin of over 10,000 votes. This wasn't about voters backing a party logo, this was a personal mandate. That number right there proves his localized brand was fiercely personal and incredibly powerful.
Section 2. The Kingmaker.
Now what's really fascinating is how Koda's localized personal victory suddenly slammed headfirst into a chaotic statewide election result. The 2005 state elections delivered what's called a fractured mandate. Basically, no single political party secured enough seats to form a clear majority, creating a total legislative deadlock. When the big parties fall just short of the numbers they need, they get desperate. They have to look for outside help to form a government. This deadlock instantly turned independent MLAs, like Koda, into the absolute most vital leverage points in the building. Overnight, he went from a localized rebel to a guy holding the keys to the entire state government.
So, how do you play that kind of hand? Well, initially, he decided to play ball with his old allies. He threw his crucial support behind the BJP-led National Democratic Alliance to help their leader, Arjun Munda, form the government. But of course, that indispensable support didn't come cheap. Koda demanded and got a massive reward. He secured a highly lucrative cabinet position, becoming the Minister of Mining, Geology, and Cooperative. In a mineral-rich state like Jharkhand, that is an extraordinarily influential portfolio to hold.
Section 3. Toppling the government. Because in the mechanics of power, alliances are highly transactional. Flash forward to September 2006, and the political landscape shifts dramatically. Madhu Koda wasn't satisfied just being a powerful minister anymore. He sensed a massive opportunity to maximize his leverage, so he orchestrates this high-stakes power play. He teams up with 3 other independent MLAs who held similar leverage, and together, they abruptly pull the plug. They withdraw their support from Arjun Munda's government. Just like that, the ruling BJP-led alliance is instantly reduced to a minority. The math is totally broken, and Chief Minister Munda is forced to resign. Koda and his tiny band of independents literally crashed the government. Now you gotta ask, why give up a sweet cabinet gig? Because Koda was trading up. He willingly abandoned that powerful ministerial role because he spotted a very rare loophole. He realized that by destabilizing the current government, he could potentially seize the ultimate seat of absolute state power under the opposition coalition.
Which brings us to the climax of this explainer. Section 4. An Unlikely Chief Minister.
We really need to look at the exact mechanics of how a guy with zero party machinery actually claimed the throne. After the government collapsed, the opposition United Progressive Alliance, the UPA, saw their golden ticket to step in. But there was a huge problem. They were completely crippled by internal rivalries.
You had the JMM, a regional heavyweight, demanding their own leader be in charge. Then you had the RJD, another heavyweight, flat out refusing to concede the top spot to the JMM. And all of this was backed by outside support from the National Congress Party. Basically, these massive political forces were entirely deadlocked, bitterly fighting over which of their own leaders should be the chief minister.
So how do you break a deadlock like that? The major parties turn to a highly unconventional fix: Madhu Koda. Think about it. Because he had no political party, no statewide base, and absolutely no organizational machinery behind him, he was the perfect consensus compromise. The heavyweights looked at him and saw a safe bet. Elevating a solo independent meant they could form the government without conceding victory to their direct rivals, all while knowing Koda posed zero long-term threat to their own dominance.
Boom. Defying literally all conventional political gravity, Madhu Koda was sworn in on September 14, 2006, as the fourth chief minister of Jharkhand. That's a role equivalent to a U.S. governor. A solo, independent MLA was now officially in charge of managing an incredibly fragile, complex state coalition backed by feuding regional heavyweights. It is an absolutely astonishing political achievement.
But, of course, Section 5. The inevitable fall. An empire built entirely on the whims of competing heavyweights is practically destined to collapse.
Koda's fundamental flaw was that his survival depended entirely on borrowed power. He existed completely at the mercy of the parties propping him up, and that house of cards finally collapsed in August 2008. The JMM chief, Shibu Soren, decided he was done compromising. He wanted the top job for himself. So just like that, the JMM officially withdrew its vital support from Koda's government.
Knowing the electoral math was finally, permanently against him, Koda knew he couldn't survive a confidence vote on the assembly floor. On August 23, 2008, after nearly 2 years in office, he was forced to resign. His wildly unlikely reign as chief minister came to a very abrupt end.
Now, if you think he just rode off into a quiet retirement, think again. This story ends in absolute ruin. His legacy was severely tarnished in the years following his premiership. In 2017, a special court convicted him for deep involvement in a massive, multi-crore coal block allocation scam. We are talking tens of millions of dollars here. And the kicker? This immense corruption occurred right during his time in power, leveraging his tenures both as the mining minister and eventually as the chief minister. Found guilty, he was hit with a prison sentence and a total ban on contesting future elections.
Just look at the sheer whiplash of this timeline. It's staggering. He goes from being a standard elected party loyalist in 2000 to a spurned rebel in 2005. Then he reaches the absolute ultimate heights of state power as chief minister in 2006, resigns in 2008, and ultimately becomes a disgraced convict just over a decade later in 2017. What a roller coaster. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I've got a question for you to chew on based on this whole crazy case study of coalition mechanics. Does extreme political compromise inevitably breed corruption? When a fractured democratic system is forced to elevate a single independent with absolutely zero structural accountability to absolute power just to keep a government afloat, is a massive downfall like this inevitable? It's a huge question about the very nature of leverage and power, and Madhu Koda's incredible rise and catastrophic fall really forces us to confront it. Thank you so much for joining me, and as always, keep questioning the mechanics behind the headlines.